different. Maybe it is the same or a different one, and less process cost because you do not have the compression punches, dies, and running motors and other things. Maybe initial cost may be more, but later on the process cost will be less, and faster product development. Particularly here, we initially look at only prototyping and not the final manufacturing. Already there are machines which are available for final manufacturing and the large scale manufacturing as well as that. And increased compliance and adherence for concordance is basically ease of administration. Spiritam, which is from Aprasia, is very fast dissolving in hardly 2 or 3 seconds. The formulation is being dissolved and easy swallowing with a small pinch of with a small amount of water, and patient-centric design. What is the kind of a patient that we are looking at, whether it is a pediatric or a geriatric, and whether they have the difficulty in swallowing, he or she has lost the swallowing reflex, you can just go with that and convert intravenous to oral also, and also design a polypill. And other benefits are drug shortages can be minimized, and it can be very well used in the trial medication in a small batch, particularly in the clinical trial where you want to deliver the drug in the final dosage form, you can go for it. And also personalized drug tapering and titration and decentralize the production as well. And what is important over here is we at JSS do have the dose dividing. Okay, that is, there are some doctors who wants a very small dose of sildenafil citrate, which is used for improving the pulmonary function of the pediatric and in the neonatology. And the pharmacy practice department takes that prescription and prepares that and sends it. In case if we can design such type of thing which is particularly required for the pediatric patient, I think it is very very good. Now, what are the various areas of application of this 3D printing, and what is the reason why they have gone for it? In the pediatric, I said you have number of ACE inhibitors that have been tried because there is no suitable dosage available or dose adjustment is required. And even in neurology, in the case of this levodopa and carbidopa, I'm sorry, frequent dose adjustments. And geriatrics, basically each of this elderly patient would have not less than 5 to 10 different formulations have to be consumed. And in that case, if you can design a polypill, I think nothing like it, so that even forgetfulness also can be prevented. Even in the oncology, site specific and all, so low risk of targeting or attacking the healthy cells. Immunosuppressive drugs also, cardiology drugs. Then this anti this infections also. Then even in the depression also, you have one or the other areas that have been tried out, and more so in the oncology, it has been successfully being used, and in many others, it is on the trial that is going on using the different dosage forms. And now we will slowly get into the technicalities of 3D printing. I'll try to keep it very simple in a layman language and try to make you understand it. Basically, how this 3D printers work and what is this all about. This is 3D printing uses this computer technology for three-dimensional solid objects. Computer-aided designs are being made in the form of STL files, and once they have been made, then it is transferred to the machine for the designing. So most of this work on three principal: design, develop, and dispatch. So in the designing, they basically whatever is a 2D structure, they take the multi layers from all the three different 360 degree and have a picture of that, and then layer by layer the images is being planned by computer-aided design, and these STL files are being developed. for preparing the 3D model. And here in most of the 3D model, what is being made is, it is on every slice. It is like a bread slice where one layer is being made and another layer. So layer by layer formation happens, layer by layer instruction digitally to the printer. And software can automatically suggest where the print support material to provide scaffolding in the in-process print. So this is how the machine is going to work. And the major thing is we need to have a right raw material for processing, whether it is for the granules, filaments, or the binder solution to facilitate the printing process. Because you know that in some of the cases, the temperature that is attained is very, very high. We do not know whether the drug, that is API, or the excipient is stable at that high temperature or not. Okay, and also printers, raw materials are added and solidified in an automatic layer by layer by the machine that is designed for the printing. And initially it will be in the crude form, or it will be in the rust form. Then finally we'll have to remove removal and post-processing by drying and sintering, polishing, and post-processing. You'll have to dip into certain solutions so that the extra materials are being removed, and it can be recycled in many cases as well. So these are the major steps that are being followed. And what are the various various types of 3D printing? If you say that solid free-form fabrications, you have printing-based inkjet systems, we have nozzle-based deposition system, and laser-based writing as well. Here it is a stereolithography, UV light, final processing, and things like that. In the nozzle-based deposition, you have without melting and with melting. Without melting, what are the different other types that are available? And FDM machines, that is fused deposition, you have after impregnation and after extrusion. These are the different ways or schematic techniques that are available. And print-based inkjet system is as good as printing on a paper, but here it prints in a 3D format. Continuous inkjet printing, drop-on demand printing, thermal printed, and piezoelectric printed. So these are the various types that are available. Let us see one by one and what are those pros and cons. Am I audible here? I just wanted to recheck.
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And all our participants are really very cooperative. I once again thank all of them. Then fused deposition modeling. Fused deposition modeling, if you look in here, you have a red ribbon and a blue ribbon over here, and red and green over here. And this is normally called as a 3D printing FDM systems. And in this, a plastic filament is being fed. These are the plastic filament. You have this your yellow filament that is being fed over here, which is basically being melts and takes a shape. And here the stage would be initially, or this would be a movable part where it keeps on melting and keeps moving like this, the way how it is being made here, or else this may be coming down. It can be either way. Okay, so that way it is going to form. And what are the advantages and disadvantages? Is relatively inexpensive and common, and only consumable requirements of the filaments rolls, and are available in wide selection of sources. And filaments can include a variety of fillers. You can have the ceramic, metallic, carbon fiber, and all. Saves on finishing time and removal of the piece from the print bed, and support material is relatively easy. Here, this FDM system is a very, very basic one. Even you can make toys and other things just to have a feel of what is 3D printing and all. And we have such two machines that are available at JSS. But here, what are the disadvantages? Pieces have poor, very poor resolution. Means you cannot get a fine finish here. And resolution is based on the nozzle size. If the nozzle is too big, it is as good as a a fountain pen nib. If the nib is very broad, you get a larger the letters. If it is very sharp, very pointed, you get a pointed one. Same is true even with the nozzle head as well. And a lowering bonding force between the layer, it has not that binding from layer to layer and can be more easily broken along the layer lines as well. And the weight of the upper layers can cause shifting to occur, making the model slightly skewed. Okay, these are the problems that you normally face, and it is generally not reusable and producing lot of waste. Lot of waste material is also being created, but the advantage is you can have a feel. You get this type of locally made machines from 50,000 to 5 lakhs. You can get this type of machines that are available. And stereolithography, which Charles Hull has made it a long time. Here it operates in a different principle compared to the FDM machines. Here what is going to happen here is you have a laser beam that is being put into the trough containing the resin materials or curable photopolymer over here. Here you can see an inverted Eiffel Tower being created over here, and it just pulls it out, and the laser beam is going to create those type of structure from the STL file that is given. And later, for having all these crevices and other materials, this for processing, it has been put in IPA, isopropyl alcohol, to remove all the excess and uncured resins. And again, we have this STL stereolithography machine. Again, a lot of resin is being wasted, but certainly you get a finest of the fine finish over here. And it is very widely being used in dental science to prepare the crown and bridge models, orthodontic models, and digital dentures are also. We have something of this type of machine that is available with us. And we have initially got only 2 resins that are available. Even the resins are also very expensive. It would be around 16 to 20,000 per liter. If I'm going to just prepare one such piece and the whole of the resin is lost. If I have a STL file where a big load can be prepared on this base platform, then it is really worth it. Yes, worth it.
result admission से लेना
I request the participants to kindly unmute, mute yourself. Okay, stereolithography. Thank you very much. Stereolithography has a high accuracy and very smooth models, and a finer details can be prepared here, and less likely to break along the layer lines than the FDM, and excess uncured resin is reusable. But again, there is a loss over there, and we do not have a big choice of resin as well, because in the limitations is very, very limited. Not all resins are available, and even the 3D printing machine manufacturers are also very particular that a resin from that particular manufacturer only fits into that machine, and it has a shelf life as well. So you cannot use the resin from the other manufacturer. So it cannot be a generic one. You'll have to buy from the same 3D machine manufacturer only. Then models are limited to 1 color at a time and based on the resin colors, because here you don't have a mix and match. Okay, that is not possible, but certainly at one point of time you can have one colored printer over here. And printed supports are not reusable, and producing a lot of waste, because the support material, once it is being made, you cannot reuse it, unlike the FDM machines. Excuse me. Then supports are difficult to remove as they are made from the same material as a part also. So if any process, there's any attached materials to give the finest finish, it works out to be very difficult, and high jet water and other material are being used for removing the extra material and all. As I told you, it is incurring the high cost than the FDM. Resin tanks and the build platform need to be replaced relatively often to ensure the accuracy of the laser. So that is it. And Generally, it is slower than the FDMs. FDM would be really a bit faster. Here it would be slow. But the good part is you get the finest finish and all the granularity of the dosage forms and other things you can be getting it in the stereolithography. And another one is a laser sintering. Again, it is in the same fashion as that of the stereolithography. And here it opens, but the only difference over here is instead of resin liquid over there, here the powder is used instead of the resin here. Instead of the resin here, the powder is being used. That is a major difference. And here it suffers again from the slow speed and high volume production is really very difficult here. And again, you have the pros and cons for the laser sintering. Surrounding powder such as support, so little to no support structures are needed. It means that only whatever the material that is required can only be used there, and wide variety of materials can be used over here, and also the color combination also you can go with, and different type of plastic, metals and all can be done, and it can form a very strong and durable say laser sintering. And materials are generally cheaper than the stereolithography, and highest geometrical flexibility is possible if any of this additive manufacturing process. So laser sintering, he says, is better compared to the stereolithography. And powder choices again limited, and powder are proprietary and cannot be exchanged between printer makes. As I told you earlier, everyone have their own unique selling proposition. They don't want to mix and match with the other competitors as well. And parts are limited to one color at a time and based on the powder polymer colors as well. And supports are not reusable. Then again, this is again a high-speed sintering. This is again laser sintering where the IR absorbent ink is being put onto the paper, where IR lamp is going to heat up the ink and melting of the powder particle takes place over here. And this is again a better technology, and relatively we can go for faster preparation over here. And pros and cons would be little or no wastage of the material here, because excess unsintered material can also be reused 100%, and the surrounding powder can be not mixed up with the main material that is being used over there, and no expensive laser because IR is going to take place here, and no lower machine costs also. It bit flexible. Only the demerit over here is technology is relatively new and low market awareness, and the competition is here. Maybe over a period of time, this may be improved, and high-speed sintering may be a game changer as well. Then we have another technology of drop on demand. This is another technology. It is something like I think we have this solid dispersion one, where we used to have a solution in which the material of choice would be dropped in over there. In the similar fashion here also, every drop is being put onto the substrate or on the surface on which the material is going to be constructed of the design that is required. These are basically being used for the general purpose, and even for the others also, even for the pharmaceutical dosage forms also, it can be taken up. So if you look at various dosage forms being prepared by the 3D printing technique, by using FDMs, you can go for preparing the immediate release tablet. You can prepare oral dispersible films as well. We have recently written, we have published an article on the oral dispersible film using 3D printing, which was which has a lot of information available. And floating drug delivery systems can also be prepared using the FDMs, entry coated and all. If you want to go for a biphasic release dosage form, you can go for this extrusion-based 3D printing machine, and also multiple active solid dosage form can also be prepared by using the extrusion-based printer. Then powder-based 3D printing, it is for the fast disintegrating tablets. We'll be seeing a couple of videos if the technology cooperates with me. I'll also be playing those videos. And inkjet-based 3D printing for the zero-order release tablets, it can be prepared as well. And as I told you, Spritam is a first tablet which is 3D printed, which is approved by FDA. And you have two strengths over here, 750 mg as well as 1000 mg tablet, which is a tablets for oral suspension. You can just keep it in the mouth and have a small little quantity of water, and it is gone within 2 to 3 seconds. It just gets dissolved. And this is being prepared using JIP-based technology, where you have a high dose loads can be taken up. It is fast dissolving, where in 2 to 3 seconds it dissolves, and also it can mask the bitter taste of the drug as well. What are the advantages of JIP dose technology over the existing technology? Conventional fast melted tablet over that, JIP dose technology can address major limitations such as dose ceiling. Exact dose can be delivered over here. Unlike liquids, here where you require certain measure for taking the liquid dosage form, but here you can take the exact dosage forms. And JIP dose technology do not use any direct compression, or any force is not being exerted over there. And multiple APIs can be loaded in this technology in order to prepare a multiple layer dosage forms. Again, this is about JIP dose technology, how it dissolves, and a single dose of 100 mg can be gulped with a small amount of water. And this is being produced layer by layer. We have a 1-minute video here. Yeah, I don't know whether it works here. Yes.
Let's take a look at the 3D printing process.
Is the video
First, a powdered
visible and
medicine is
audible?
spread into a thin layer. Then, a liquid is dropped onto the powder to selectively bind the particles together into a thin, porous layer. This process is repeated a specific number of times to add more layers based on the dosage, building the product from bottom to top. The result is a porous drug product that disintegrates with just a sip of liquid. Learn more at Appreciate.com.
Yes. Again, I should thank Appreciate for having these videos available on the YouTube. If someone is interested, can Google it out and can watch that. And we have another company, Syntratech, which is also into the space of personalized medicine. I'll just try to see if this video also plays here. We have 4 minutes video over here.
Hi everyone, I'm Fabrizio, I'm from Italy, and I'm doing a PhD at UCL School of Pharmacy in London. I'm working on 3D printing in collaboration with Fabrics, and during my project I'm basically printing oral formulations using 3D printing. We are actually the first group in the world to investigate selective laser sintering to make medicine.
My name is Professor Simon Gaisford. I work at UCL. I'm head of pharmaceutics, and I'm also director and co-founder of Fabrics. We originally looked at 3D printing as a research tool, and then we decided there was a commercial opportunity. So we set up Fabrics as a spin-out from the university, and its specific aim is to focus and develop on 3D printing for pharmaceutical dosage forms.
We were very interested in selective laser sintering because we don't need to use a liquid as a binder, we just use a powder and a laser. And the precision of the
But because you
support our first Syntratech kit, so we dissolved those tablets, we checked the amount of drug inside, and surprisingly we realized there was no drug degradation. The drug was still there, and it was a very, very happy moment. 3D structures, and we can make tablets with different releases profile just by changing the printing parameters. The big laser speed. We can start from changing the laser speed. In new polymers, and every printing process might last 20 minutes, and I'm able to print up to 20 tablets. We started using the pharmaceutics. We started to have more ideas. That's when we decided to invest on us to be much more effective.
It means that we can make an almost infinite number of doses, so we can tailor a dose to a patient. We can put more than one active into a particular dosage form, and so to be able to formulate drugs for various diseases. And I think that is fundamentally
I see a very big potential on this technology, and I'm sure in the future this technology will.
Practical pharmaceutical, inorganic chemistry.
Yeah, that was a second video that we had. And what are the various challenges that we face for the 3D printing? Is basically we have less scope of excipients that can be used for 3D printing, unlike the conventional formulation. So not all the excipients are available for 3D printing of the pharmaceutical dosage forms. And also we have only few softwares and instrumentations that are available. Again, we'll have to adapt it and adopt it for the preparing the pharmaceutical formulation, because it is very well accepted in the say molding industry, in the automobile industry, in the aerospace and things like that, but not in the pharma, not many of that. And also the mechanical properties that we are expecting from these type of dosage forms, or maybe even the this devices, that is also we'll have to adjust, and that all depends on the processing and also about the excipients that we are going to use it. And the last one is of the regulatory landscape. Regulatory landscape is because even the US FDA or EMA do not have the clarity on how to go about and what are the guidelines that have to be prepared. CDRH has come out with certain guidelines for the medical devices, and only one application has been approved by US FDA. So it is still very nascent in order to form the guidelines for different purpose. So if you look at the US FDA, what do we have in the US FDA is CDRH, Center for Drug Research. There they have only given the approval or 3D printed medical devices via 510K pathway, and they have dental crowns, bone plates, skull plates, and all these things, facial implants, surgical instruments and all. They have given the permission. And CBER, which is basically related to the biological products, they have not yet approved or cleared any products, whereas CDR he has approved aspartame in July 2015 under 505B2 pathway that has been approved. So it means that a lot of questions have to be asked in order to get an approval, and even FDA themselves have to be say questioning the authorities who are into this particular space. And current regulatory landscape is a bit flexible enough for the 3D printing technology for mass production and distribution. And what should be the regulatory structure if we use this technology for manufacturing on demand on a personalized note, maybe at the hospital setup, or maybe at the clinical studies sites, or printing at home, or the doctor's office. So if that is the case, then who are going to regulate it? How are they going to be regulating? And also right now in the pharma industry, this formulation production itself is a bit challenging. Already they have put into the space of printing, going for the bioprinting as well as medical devices with electronic chip, diagnostic, and combination of all these things, combination products. all these things are being in the anvil. Maybe another 3 to 5 years, all these things are going to come up. And even in the pharmacy, you don't see a pharmacy having the drugs being dispensed there. You may have machines wherein you fill in the prescription or send the prescription to the mobile of to the phone of that particular pharmacy. He is going to print and keep it ready for you. Or maybe he may also give you a small printer so that you can take home and print for yourself. That is, I think, what is going to come in the near future. And these are the regulatory gaps and challenges that you have here. And who is going to regulate all these ink cartridges which are containing the API and excipients, and how are they going to be distributed? How are they going to be dispensed, whether it is a doctor or a pharmacist, and who are going to regulate these devices and the drugs which are 3D printed, and who are going to monitor them when they are being prepared at home. And are we going to use the same quality control tests and parameters what we use for the conventional form for the 3D printing machine also? And what should be the shelf life of the product? And what should be the drug loaded print cartridge be monitored for its shelf life? So there are a number of questions that need to be asked before we take it up for the finalization of this printers. Printability of various materials into the drug products, which can be taken up, which drugs, because here many of the times there is either laser sintering or FDMs where it reaches a very high temperature, whether the drug is stable or not. All those things are big questions that we need to answer before we proceed here. And also, what are the critical parameters of each of these 3D printing technology we have said, and whether it suits our requirement or not, and how we assess the performance of a 3D printing drug products. And in vitro testing, is it same as that of the conventional material? What about the geometry of the 3D printing design? Will it has to be different? So that okay, then in the same fashion, critical characteristics that are involved in the 3D printing also has to be into consideration before we jump into for the 3D printing of the drug
Introduction to the
and here the
introduction to
regulatory
the
challenges. There's another video that just for the
to the basic glasswares
how is the order pattern like the 3D printing. Okay, so that's about it. And
laboratory reference
just a small information about what is this bioprinting.
lab manual.
Gone are the days where it is only limited to pharma products. Even the body parts are being made like any other automobile shops and all. Here body parts are being made. Organ-like structures or living cells can also be made here. And here again, it is basically using the CT scans or MRI scans, and these are being again prepared layer by layer. Here, the only difference is it is not just with the polymeric material or photopolymers, it is also with the cells as well. It is also with the cells, living cells taken from the person only, which are the healthy one, where it is being used for preparing the skin grafts, bone grafts, implants, devices. So it is possible for going ahead with the 3D printing. Again, there are ethical issues that we'll have to answer, because already there are a number of laboratories and universities where they are designing 3D printed heart. They are designing 3D printed kidney. UCSF is already leading in preparing a 3D printed kidney as well. If the kidneys are being prepared, then we would no longer have the people who are looking for a donors or maybe dialysis and things like that. We can just the person
First
who
edition.
faces the kidney problem can go to the
First.
clinic, get his
Edition.
kidney being removed, and this 3D printed can be put in, and he can work out. Maybe the days are very
IP innovative
fast.
publication.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. There was a disturbance by other delegate. That's why I have to
Okay,
mute
okay.
on. Yeah.
Thank you. I understand. I understand.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, the way how it is being put up here, you have the cells and the polymers are there. They are being cross-linked, and this cross-linked polymeric material is going to be either extruded or put up in the inkjet-based bioprinting or laser jet, so that you form the required shape and size of the maybe the skin implant grafts or bone grafts and things like that. It is possible. And even you can also use this for preparing the prosthetics or even in the orthotics also. It has been possible, and it is a reality where the number of labs even within India, they are using this technology for preparing the prototype, proof of concept, and even the finalization also. And how does it form? Be whether it even it is a hard material like bone and its jaw and other things can also be prepared, and also soft material like kidney and other things, or skin material, and all those things can be done. Already there are a number of companies who are manufacturing this bioprinting machines as well. And again, you have a lot of ethical issues and critical factors have to be looked into for preparing the best in class, using the best in class technology, because here most of the time it is a teamwork, and this is a small model which can replicate what is that in the kinetics we say single compartment, multi compartment, and all these are all this is something like a human being. It is being used just in the outside, and in vitro, we have an in silico model. Instead of testing it in the animals, we can have all the cells that are being put up here, and you can use it for in vitro analysis of the drug substance as well. It is possible using this type of technology. Where do we find this 3D printing studies being conducted? It is across the globe, be it in the US or South America. We have a big presence in China and even in India, as well as Australia. We have some presence over here. So majority of these are the areas where a lot of studies are being reported about the 3D printing studies in the medicines. And okay, having said all these things, now it is up to us, like how do we use this technology for the betterment of this society. At JSS AGR, Academy of Higher Education Research, we have more than 10 to 15 special interest groups, and I chair this special interest group in 3D printing in healthcare. We started this in 2017. It is a multidisciplinary team where I have a cardiothoracic surgeon, I have a dental doctors from pedodontics, prosthodontics, perio and all. I have engineers in this group. I have pharmacists. I have medical device manufacturers and as well as designers. So this is a small team that is comprised of. What we have been successful is we have made noise in this space of 3D printing in healthcare by conducting seminars and workshops from the leading scientists. And later on in 2018, we have signed an MOU with Accreate Additive Lab with the founder, director of that is Ravi Shankar, where Accreate Additive Lab is located in Bangalore. And we have Imaginarium, which is located in Mumbai. We have signed an MOU and we work with them very closely, trying to understand ourselves. And it was Dr. Guru Prasad from Imaginarium who helped me in finalizing what type of 3D printing machine that is that an institution and education institution can have. So we have procured 3D printing machine of SLA and FDM. We have procured it to the college. Again, I thank one of our alumni for partially funding this particular machines. And based on our experience, I'm sorry, we have jointly applied for various projects to the tune of more than 40 crores. So we have applied for around national and international around 50 to I think 5 to 10 different projects we have applied. And also, it has culminated in offering a diploma and certificate program in 3D printing in healthcare. We will be taking the assistance of our MOU partners as well as our engineering college to support us in all these initiatives. Then here is a small video about Imaginarium, our one of the partner, which says what are the scope of this 3D printing, and it has been presented for the benefit of the participants in one of the seminars that we have conducted. It was shared by Dr. Guru Prasad himself. It is just a 4-minute video.
Why build anything? Why make it better? Smarter, faster. Hell, why even try and make the impossible? Because there's never been a more exciting time to be alive, to imagine, to create, to change things, to build better objects, better ideas, better businesses, better lives, even a better world.
The India of yesterday was of cheap labor and efficient manufacturing. Our dream is an India of tomorrow, which is of creativity and design. Imaginarium is our way of helping unlock the creative talent of our country.
3D printing is a set of different technologies that allow the creation of objects by deposition of material layer by layer. This approach to manufacture objects has enabled to bring fragile ideas to reality quicker than ever before.
Today, 3D printing technology has become a very powerful tool in medical domain, for medical device innovation to surgery planning. We create the solution in CAD first. Doctors want to be able to see it in 3 dimensions to check the design, form, fit and function, what is called as, and then give us their feedback. And using that feedback, we are able to reiterate, change the design and make new models. And this whole cycle time is compressed to a few days instead of a few weeks and months.
Previously considered as impossible designs are now being realized every single day in huge number all over the world.
And now it has come to a stage where we can have desktop machines. It's almost become a craft, home craft, to make rapid prototypes.
It's going to rewrite total manufacturing engineering and all our manufacturing process. What we are talking about, assembly of many parts, whole thing will change.
Yesterday's science fiction is today's innovation and tomorrow's way of life. Converting digital bits into atoms and atoms back into bits is now a click of a button. And here we are at Imaginarium, bringing this next industrial revolution to the desk of every inventor, designer, tinkerer, and artist.
There are only a few technologies that change the way the world runs. Every single day, in every single way, we are reimagining the world and its businesses. We are collaborating with them to achieve their greatness. Just in a matter of hours, you can have your imagination, your dreams, your blueprints right in your hands.
Because we believe the world's best ideas need its best builders. Imaginarium is the oxygen that brings these ideas to life. And with every idea, we make one less thing impossible. We are where the best in 3D printing meets the best in human imagination. What we are making, you can't make any other way. What we are doing, you can't do anywhere else. Our work is our signature, and it is traveling across the world. We are Imaginarium, building awesome stuff that matters at India's largest 3D printing company.
Yeah, that was the video promo of Imaginarium, one of the partner with which we have signed MOU, and that was Dr. Guru Prasad. And based on his suggestions, we have procured our the 3D printings and curing machine. Here our HOD of Pharmaceutics, Dr. Vishkanta Gowda, our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Surinder Singh, and we have also gone ahead with imparting augmented reality and virtual reality training modules are available. It is something like a computer games. That facility is also being created. At JSS, we have already taken up one of the project of working on a sinusitis with the medical doctor in the ENT department, and she is pursuing her PhD, and we are trying to see how we can help them in designing a 3D printed insert or an implant in the nose so that it can prevent the sinusitis that is possible. Already prototypes are being made. We have used memotrexone curate as a drug of choice. Then we have designed the formulations. We have 2-3 designs being made. And also these are the things that are being printed in our this SLA machine only, and we are trying to now go ahead with the next level of say preparing it for the animal model and maybe for the human studies as well as. Then we are also working with one Dr. Rachit Agrawal from Indian Institute of Science, where he is also a partner. He is also he has hosted in NPTEL program on drug delivery systems. I think some of you can even enroll for that program, which is free of cost as well. And here we have another structures which have been prepared as a concept one, how it is going to work and all. And again, you have a huge potential in India because a lot of congenital marriages are being held, and which cause number of genetic disorders, and which are very unique, unlike in any other part of the globe. And our population is not the bane, but a boon. We have number of opportunity to explore, and a lot of money is being spent on treating this non-communicable NCDs, non-communicable diseases as well. And if at all we are going to go for this precision medicine, which is already being practiced, as I told you, in oncology, cardiology and all, I think that would be a big game changer. And also depending on the individual's requirement, we may all need to receive a treatment designed for the physiology and body type also. Then, but if you are not going to catch up with the technology, we may be just becoming a followers. Like we have lost the electronic technology where it has gone to China and other islands like Malaysia and Singapore. We may be their followers, because here, unless the team accepts here, even now also doctors would like to see whether the material is approved by US FDA or by American Medical Association for it to become mainstream in their practice. Because I remember the film on Home Alone, where the hero, a small boy, was left all alone at home during the Christmas. He goes to a shopping mall and asks for a toothbrush, and that lady who is on the counter would be surprised how come a small boy comes for shopping. And when he is trying to give the cash and collect the toothbrush, he asks a question: is this toothbrush approved by Dental Association of America? She would be surprised to see how this small boy can ask such type of question. So that way, if we are really have to make a big change in the technology, all have to accept here. And most of the time what is happening is the inventions that are happening in the West and the medical devices that are designed, it is basically for the Caucasian population and not for the Indian, because Indian body weight and the surface area and the height and all is 5, 5.5 and 6 maximum. Okay, there are exceptional cases. So particularly the knee bone joints and other medical devices do not really fit, because they are either oversized or undersized if we are going to import it from the West. So certainly there's a need of the hour that we have to design our own devices using this 3D printing technology. It is possible to certainly do that. And the next one is, just 1 second. The conclusion is 3D printing itself has already established an innovative platform for the fabrication of medical devices and drug products. It is possible, and a great flexibility in producing dosage form. For personalized regime, it is possible to patient specific. And the technology will also grow further and shape the future of healthcare and patient centric, because already the personalized medicines are being in the annual, and a lot of research is happening in that. And this is a way how one of the presenter had given how technology is going to change even the clinical trials, which was earlier happening in the hospital because of COVID pandemic. Virtual clinical trials and the informations are being collected all virtually. And telemedicine is going to be another thing that can come up. And also we have a lot of wearable devices which gives all the health analytics in a press of the button on the watch itself, and you can visualize how many steps you have covered, what is your blood sugar. On a regular basis, it can give all the information. And again, I thank the organizers, and I thank JSS Academy of Higher Education Research and Pharmacy College, Mysore, and Pharmacy College, Hubli, for giving me an opportunity to share my views here. And special reference to these two, one article and another presentation which was made in USA by FDA. Kazaru Man, he had made a presentation which is beautifully being taken up. I acknowledge his presentations as well as that. Then for further reading, you can look into this different space if you can really want to make a game changer. And what is going to happen is, again, being told very beautifully by Daniel Kraft. If someone is interested to know about what is future of the medicine and all, you can think of these things. And the one what is being handheld over here is something which may be available in the pharmacy, and the one which is something like the colorful different multi-assorted color kumkum box earlier which we used to have. This may be the machine which may be used to print the drugs at home. This is what he is trying to say. And he has talked wonderfully. It is a 12-minute video. I may not be going to play this entirely. However, I'll just make a small attempt to squeeze this.
And in our times don't program a medication for. Do you think that more cost for early wearing a driving, but our health experience with our for you? So great. Now maybe we can optimize. Had this information integrated into their workflow, augmented with artificial intelligence, AI, or I like to workflow, augmented with artificial intelligence, AI, or I like to refer to on, so soon we may, is the integration of multiple medications into a single pill. And we have these today in common over-the-counter cold and flu remedies. And there have been prevention polypill studies done, giving combinations of statins, blood pressure, aspirin, which in randomized studies have been shown to you even every single day. Well, we'll depint your personalized polypill. So instead of taking 6 medications, for example, I could integrate them in, I call these IntelliMeds, and with the help of selected based on the dose and combination needed for any individual. And of course, these would be doses and combinations you could already take together, FDA-approved drugs. We could change the pharmacokinetics by potentially layering on different elements to the individual micromeds. Most common problems. About 90% of prescribed drugs today are low-cost generics. And once we've printed the pill, we can do some fun bells and whistles. We could print the name of the patient, the date, the day of the week, a QR code. We could print different meds for tapering for a patient on a steroid taper or tapering from pain medications. Individual micromeds. And they're loaded. And then when I hit print, these would all fall through the device. I now pull out my personalized printed polypill with the doses and medications meant for me. And we can sort of take a look at my individual dosing. My smartwatch is, and you can imagine that large could print your personalized polypill each morning on your kitchen or your bathroom cabinet. And this could evolve, I think, into an incredible way to improve adherence and medications across the globe. Our own health and medicine around.
To say that nursing home patient that you mentioned.
See, those days there was nothing called interior designing. Just buy one sofa set, one teapot, 2 almirah, 2 bed, 1 dining table with 4 chairs, 1 steel stand for utensils. Done ashte. Then for Griha Pravesham, people will give no Ganapati photo, wall clock, flower.
Is able to print their pills in their home.
Well, again, this is just a prototype. We think that the regulatory route would be automated compounding. And especially in nursing homes, folks are taking multiple medications and they're often mixed up. So that would be a perfect place to start with these technologies.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
yes. Shall we end the session, sir?
Yes. You can.
So the presentation was very
Just
informative.
1 second. I'll stop sharing that.
Yes, yes.
I'll come out of it and then again enter.
Dear delegates, Pramod sir is again going to rejoin. So we'll have an interaction with Pramod sir when he rejoins. You can post your questions in the chat box.
Yeah, I'm back. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to share my views, and I should also thank all the different people who have given wonderful videos and all, and which was available on the public domain, where we could make some sense out of it and things like that. And it is not just thinking about 3D printing, and we are already gone to a stage where we can work together, maybe even in the drug or a device or things like that. So those are some immediate requirement. Again, I have a question: can 3D printing reduce drug development time? I can say here, even in the drug discovery, also there are some initiatives being made, and we should certainly appreciate the effort of government of India and all our vaccine manufacturers, where they have taken a record time of less than 1 year to bring out the COVID vaccine. So emergency approval for usage, EAU, given for the vaccines. We should thank the vaccine manufacturers of India for really making us all hale and healthy and remain safe in spite of COVID pandemic. So I think this can be also a game changer. I'll also tell you one more thing that is that would be happening here is, say you need not travel across. If you have a computer design here, even the logistic industry also would be disrupted. Sorry, what I'm trying to say here is, if you are in India and you are supposed to send some material to US, to the US market, all that you need to do here is execute that command, and it would be printed in US at that company. It means that all your transportation, logistic, traveling by rail, air, sea route or anything, everything would be disrupted if it is going to be sent just like that. It is as simple as we talk with our near and dear on the FaceTime and on WhatsApp video and all. It is as simple as that. Okay, so I think it may even reduce the drug discovery time as well. Please excuse me. Yeah. Any other questions?
So as such, then your session was very informative session. As you have already told in your session, Pharmacy for Future is personalized medicines. So our medicines will be personalized in the near future. And Digi Medicine, which is a near future, which we generally say digitalized medicine, wherein 3D printing technology comes to the way in designing this digitalized medicine. So maybe in the near future, we may, this is an emerging trend. 3D printing is an emerging trend to design new drug deliveries. And maybe we will be seeing all these personalized drug deliveries in the near future, sir.
Yeah, already we have this e-pharmacies which are there, 1mg and many other players are there in the market. In the same way, once a prescription, an electronic prescription is being given by the doctor, it is being sent to the pharmacy, and pharmacy is going to print that and send to your home. That may be home delivery as well. It is like Swiggy, Zomato and all. You'll be also getting home your individualized and personalized medicine as well as that. And maybe days are not too far. We may be able to see all these things happening in front of us, maybe 5 years from now, even 5 years, maybe too big a time, but it is going to happen. It is going to happen. And whether we like it or not, these things are going to disrupt number of technologies, manufacturers. Say Elon Musk, when he had thought of Tesla, electric vehicle, not many companies were buying his idea because they had invested a lot in the automobile industry. People like Ford and General Motors in US and all, they had invested. But right now, certainly all the different automobile industries are releasing the electric vehicle. Even our big giant like Tata is coming out, has already come out with number of vehicles. And same is true, maybe by 2030, 2035, most of the vehicles would be electric driven or maybe a hybrid one. In the same fashion, here also, we would be moving towards a personalized medicine. The pharmacies would be existing, but they would be delivering the personalized medicine. That may be the way, because of the longevity, because of the affordability, because of the health consciousness. I think it is going to change the way what we are looking at.
At this point, I'd like to add, sir, the initiative taken by Government of India at the school level also. They are providing 3D printers for the Atal Think Lab. So
Yes.
where the students, primary school students also, they are coming out with new ideas. And that will be, I think, the emerging future
Very
for
true.
3D printing. Yes.
Very true, very true. And being at Hubli, you are really very blessed, because I come all the way from Mysore to Hubli just to attend the sessions conducted by Deshpande Foundation in the Living Laboratory on the way to Airport Road. I have attended at least 3 such sessions. It was just mind-boggling. Even they have the 3D printing machine, may not be for the pharma, but for the other engineering products they have. They create the interest in the young minds. I think the pharmacy colleges should work with the Deshpande Foundation and the Living Lab and see how best we can kindle the interest. Gone are the days where we say that it is only the postgraduate student, PhD scholars have to do the research. The research and the ideas can come, as sir was making a mention, that from the school kids as well. Okay. Say recently we have the episode of Puneet Rajkumar passing away, and it was a cardiac arrest. And there was a small school kid, I think the YouTube video was very popular in maybe some 2-3 years back. A school kid had seen his grandfather dying because of cardiac arrest, and he had devised a diagnostic kit which can sense at least 6 hours before whether a person is going to get a heart this cardiac arrest or not. If that golden period is being known, then immediately the patient may be shifted and necessary proper preventive actions can be taken. So my message is very loud and clear. What I say here is, it is certainly not restricted. The research should not be restricted only to this. Get ideas from any corners, from any level of learning, and that idea can be a great idea. I think that is the right way of looking at it.
Sir, one more question, sir. What is the cost of 3D machine, what you have procured at JSS?
Yeah, it is a very, very basic thing. As I told you, this FDM machines would come from 50,000 to 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs you get. What I have got is of only 1.5 lakh is one machine, and the SLA machine is of 8 lakhs, is a basic one. And what we are working with the 3D printing the companies like Accurate Additive Labs and all, they have the machines which are very, very expensive. They have the machines of more than 2.5 to 3 crore rupees is one machine. And they have the bioprinting machines also. The Accurate Additive has a bioprinting machine. And Imaginarium is one of the biggest hub for the 3D printing. They have 3D printing machines which can print their own parts and again make another machine. It is something like that. We had an opportunity to visit their facility at Mumbai, and it was a great learning experience for all of us. And even people from Mumbai and Maharashtra should really take the advantage of being a Mumbaikar and being here, there in Mumbai. Please explore the possibilities. In the video, you saw one Dr. Professor B. Ravi. He is a professor from IIT Mumbai. He has more than 25 to 30 patents on the medical devices which are designed exclusively for Indian population. Just look at their wonderful program they conduct, what is called as MEDA, MEDHA. MEDA is a very popular program they conduct, and he is heading the BTech, BEITIC, BTech. So biotechnology, engineering, and innovation, and some lab is there, and he is a very, very resourceful person. I am following number of his footsteps only, but a long way to go. He has a very clear vision in front of him.
So Sasija Madam is also joined the session, and she's conveyed that your session was very informative.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I think I have exhausted my time as well. It is 11:06. I thought I may not be able to do it, but certainly, okay, I should pat my own back and say that it was good. Good morning, Sasija ma'am. You have muted. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. And Giriraj sir also has joined the session.
Yes, yes. I think
so. Yeah, sir also has conveyed. Your talk was very informative.
How are you, Sasija ma'am?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Very informative talk. And as you said, this is going to be disruptive indeed.
Exactly, exactly. There are a lot of new things. What we wanted to showcase is there are a lot of new ideas that are coming up, and it is up to the young crowd to catch up these things and see, because I may not be an expert in all these things. At least we never heard of the 3D printing during our BFARM days, way back in 80s. Okay, so these are the technology for the future, and the young colleague friends have to make use of all these things and start making noise in this area, because these are the things that are going to come up maybe in the near future.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Great hearing you.
Okay, sir. Okay, ma'am. Let me take leave here, because as teachers, we keep on talking here. We have to make way for the others also to share their wonderful and very rich experience. And Dr. Sasija Suresh, we also get a lot of inspiration from Madam also, because she has wide experience and has wonderful publications to her credit, also with Dr. Giriraj Kulkarni and many other speakers. Again, I thank the organizers and Dr. H.M. Vishwanath Swami and other coordinators for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this. Thank you once again. I may take leave because since morning I'm off the office, though I'm in the office, I'm not attending the other ones. Kindly excuse me if wherever it is possible, I'll be joining the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. I request all the delegates that we will start the next session at 11:20. So you can take a break of 10 minutes. Then we'll start with the next session of Srinivas Mutalik sir, Professor in Department of Pharmaceutics, Manipal College of Pharmaceutical Sciences. We'll take a break of only 10 minutes. Okay, kindly rejoin the session at 11:20. Thank you.